Bolt Action is a fast-paced tabletop wargame themed on the conflicts and battles of the period between 1939 and 1945, known as World War II. From the shattered towns of France to the barren deserts of North Africa and the savage engagements on the Eastern Front, you need your very own platoon into the furnace of war. Bolt Action includes a variety of factions, each representing one of the belligerent nations that saw action during the war. These include Great Britain, who had the ability to call on their Commonwealth allies, Canada, India, New Zealand, and of course, Australia. Armed with characteristic equipment such as the Bren gun, the Piat, the Bren carrier, Churchills, Cromwells, and Sherman Firefly tanks, along with the protection of the Brodie helmet, the Tommies were a force to be reckoned with. The German Wehrmacht was powerful, well-trained, and well-equipped. They pushed the boundaries of technological advancement and managed to hold several nations at bay with lightning warfare for a time. As the war progressed, the Germans fought on every front, from the icy steppes of the Soviet Union, the dust-choked sands of North Africa, the beaches of Normandy, to the rubble-strewn streets of Berlin. The United States adopted a tactical doctrine that placed great emphasis on firepower and mobility. Featuring Sherman tanks, GIs, Marines and paratroopers, Warlord's range has everything you need to field a US force in bolt action. The vast Soviet Union was a sleeping giant, awakened by the invasion from the German forces in 1941. Soviet armies in bolt action typically outnumber their opponents. The Soviet Union had the largest army in the world at the beginning of the German-led invasion, with factories back in the motherland cranking out tanks and equipment night and day to feed the Soviet war machine. Aside from the aforementioned nations, we have provided army lists and have miniatures for the Japanese, French, Hungarians, Australians, Italians, Finnish, Belgians and the Polish. Each have a unique flavour and national characteristic. As its name implies, the scale of the war was worldwide. To reflect this, we have released a plethora of campaign books centred on various theatres of war. Campaign books take an in-depth look at the engagements that raged all over the world. From the 8th Army and Rommel's Afrika Korps, duelling it out in the baking deserts of North Africa, to the sweltering jungles in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands, where the Japanese had campaigned against the British Empire and later fought the United States in the closing months of the war, to the Eastern Front when the Soviet Red Army pushed back the German advance and eventually reached Berlin itself. In addition to the army books, they include new units and special rules and allow you to recreate specific battles with new scenarios. If an infantry-based army is not your thing, then tank war may be what you're looking for. This supplement allows you to field platoons consisting of tanks and armoured cars. Take a platoon of T-34s and try and halt your opponent's panzer divisions. Invest in a lot of points and you can field none other than the dreaded big cats, Panthers, Tigers and even the Tiger II. We've also dabbled with a what-if scenario. What would have happened if Hitler had managed to land his troops on British soil? Operation Sea Lion and Gigant offer some very colourful scenarios and units that would normally look a little out of place on a bolt action table. Recently, Bolt Action has expanded into the Cold War with a book dedicated to the intense conflicts of the Korean War. 5 years after the end of World War II, this book allows you to take Chinese, North Korean and United Nations forces with new army lists, units and miniatures to represent the various forces and equipment that had developed since the Second World War. Such as the British Centurion, though some equipment had inevitably been brought back into use. For more details on Bolt Action, please visit boltaction.com and warlordgames.com.